When the fishermen pulled the nets that day, they expected dinner, not divine retribution. Within hours, their catch was confiscated, their boats seized, and their families exiled from the lake. Their crime? They killed one of Emperor Claudius's dolphins. Yes, dolphins. Not war criminals, not traitors, just some unfortunate men who accidentally harmed the emperor's beloved aquatic pets. And Claudius didn't take it lightly. He banned all fishing on the lake. Forever. Because to him, this wasn't just a lake. It was his personal dolphin sanctuary. But to understand why an emperor would go to war over a sea mammal, we need to go back. To a Rome ruled by paranoia, vanity, and one very misunderstood man who thought he could talk to dolphins. This is the story of how the Roman Empire, the most powerful civilization on Earth, ended up with what might be the first recorded marine protection law, enforced not by compassion, but by sheer imperial lunacy. Music kicks in, ominous strings with ironic grandeur, and yes, everything you're about to hear comes straight from Roman sources. Rome, around 49 AD. Picture this, the empire is enormous, sprawling from Spain to Syria. Marble cities, aqueducts, gladiator fights, and enough political backstabbing to make modern reality TV look like kindergarten. And ruling it all is Tiberius Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, better known as Claudius. Now, Claudius wasn't supposed to be emperor. He was the awkward uncle nobody took seriously, the guy in the corner stuttering, limping, and sneezing while everyone else fought over power. Historians say his own family thought he was too dumb to rule, which of course made him the perfect survivor in a family that killed anyone competent. When his nephew Caligula was assassinated, Claudius was found hiding behind a curtain in the palace. The soldiers saw him, and instead of killing him, decided, hey, why not? Let's make this guy emperor. And just like that, the man who once wrote treatises on Etruscan grammar was suddenly running the most dangerous empire on Earth. But here's what most people don't realize. Claudius wasn't crazy. He was curious. An academic in an age of conquerors. He loved building things, aqueducts, canals, harbors, and he loved creatures, especially marine ones. Some emperors built armies. Claudius built aquariums. He was fascinated by sea life. In fact, one of his favorite hangouts was Lake Lucrinus, near modern Naples. A calm lagoon connected to the sea, perfect for raising oysters and, apparently, befriending dolphins. And this is where things start to get weird. Fishermen around the lake began to notice something strange. Dolphins were approaching the shore, not afraid of humans. They played around boats, guided schools of fish, even fetched thrown objects. Soon, stories spread that Claudius himself had trained these dolphins. He'd appear at the shore, toss them treats, and clap like a proud father at a school play. To locals, it was just eccentricity. To Claudius, it was connection, proof that nature, when ruled wisely, could serve Rome. But that bond would soon be broken. Claudius decided he wanted more than friendly dolphins. He wanted civilized dolphins, creatures that could work alongside humans, maybe even help with fishing. Think of it as the Roman version of a government research project, minus the ethics board. He ordered the lake to be protected and stocked with fish to keep the dolphins well fed. He even assigned guards to keep poachers away. To the Romans, dolphins weren't just animals. They were sacred, symbols of Neptune, the sea god. So this seemed noble, even divine. But it wasn't just religion. Claudius genuinely believed he could communicate with them. Here's what most people don't realize, he once wrote in his notes on natural history. Dolphins had the wit of man and the loyalty of a friend, so he treated them as citizens, protected, fed, adored. Soon, the dolphins were performing tricks. They'd push small boats, retrieve objects, even, according to one particularly dramatic historian, and carry messages between points of the bay. Rome loved a spectacle, and Claudius was giving them one. Visitors came to see the emperor's lake of tame dolphins. Fishermen made money guiding tourists. Everything was peaceful, until one day, it wasn't. Beat. A group of local fishermen cast their nets too close to the imperial zone. They hauled in their catch and found, tangled in the ropes, one of the emperor's beloved dolphins. Dead. Now, killing a dolphin in Rome wasn't like hitting a deer with your car. It was sacrilege. Killing a sacred animal was bad enough. Killing the emperor's personal dolphin was basically declaring war on Neptune and Caesar. And Claudius, the man of science and civility, snapped. Within hours, the guards dragged the fishermen before the magistrates. They pleaded ignorance. We didn't know. It was an accident. But Claudius didn't care. He reportedly ordered all fishing on Lake Lucrinus banned forever. The fishermen's boats were confiscated. Their nets burned. Some accounts suggest the offenders were executed by sea. Others say they were merely exiled. Either way, Claudius made an example out of them. Darkly comedic tone. Imagine losing your life's work because the emperor's pet dolphin had a bad day in your net. And the best part? He wasn't done. Claudius declared the lake a protected imperial reserve, effectively turning it into the first known marine sanctuary in history. Rome's most powerful man had just created the first environmental protection law, out of revenge. From that point on, Lake Lucrinus became an imperial no-go zone. Fishermen kept their distance, guards patrolled the shore. Dolphins swam freely, fat and happy, while the locals starved. Meanwhile, Claudius basked in his self-appointed title as protector of Neptune's children. He even commissioned mosaics depicting himself surrounded by dolphins, the benevolent sea emperor. But beneath the marble, the policy was absurd. The same man who banned fishing to protect dolphins also oversaw executions, conquests, and political purges. Roman senators joked quietly that if reincarnation existed, Claudius would come back as a fish. But it wasn't just a joke. It was a warning. Because in Rome, when an emperor's obsession became law, everyone else paid the price. If you're finding this disturbing, or maybe oddly impressive, drop a comment, because this is where the story stops being about dolphins and starts being about control. Claudius began to see himself not just as emperor of men, but of nature itself. He commissioned massive canals, redirected rivers, drained marshes. His dolphin project was just one piece of a bigger vision, Rome as master of the elements. And for a while it worked. Trade flourished, ports expanded. Claudius was hailed as a genius, until hubris struck again. This time, not with dolphins, but with his family. While Claudius was busy perfecting his fish empire, the human one was rotting. Behind the palace walls, his wife Agrippina was plotting his downfall, paving the way for her son, Nero, to take the throne. Claudius's fascination with the natural world had made him naive in the political one. He trusted the wrong people. He ignored the sharks circling in the Senate, and eventually he was poisoned. Rumor says it was mushroom, his favorite dish. One bite, and the emperor who once protected dolphins was gone. But the world he built, the world where imperial whim dictated life and death of Nae, didn't disappear. It got worse, because Nero took Claudius's eccentricities and turned them into madness. Under Nero, cruelty became performance, obsession became spectacle. And the empire that once punished fishermen for killing a dolphin now burned its own city to the ground. Claudius's dolphin sanctuary became a footnote, a bizarre chapter in a larger tragedy. But it's also a mirror, because the story isn't really about dolphins or lakes or emperors. It's about how absolute power twists even the purest curiosity into tyranny. Claudius wanted to protect nature, but in the process, he used the same machinery of control that Rome used on people. The lake became a microcosm of the empire, beautiful, orderly, and utterly suffocating. If this story has made you rethink what power really means, subscribe, because Rome's strangest tales always carry warnings for our own age. Claudius's ban on fishing remained in effect for years, long after his death. When later emperors reopened the lake, locals still whispered about the curse of the emperor's dolphin. Some refused to fish there ever again. And maybe that's fitting, because Claudius, in his strange, bookish way, left behind a legacy of unintended morality. A man mocked by his family, forgotten by his empire, but remembered by history as the emperor who cared more for dolphins than for senators. Now here's where I need to pause. Claudius's story isn't just comic, it's tragic. It raises a question that echoes through time. When you have absolute power, can any act of compassion remain pure? Claudius thought he was doing something good, protecting creatures, honoring the gods. But in Rome, even kindness became authoritarian. He didn't build a sanctuary, he built a cage. And that's the dark irony. The same hand that fed the dolphins also fed the executioner's sword. Today, Lake Lucrinus still exists, near modern Pozzuoli. The ruins of Roman villas line its shore. If you stand there at dusk, the water is calm. Eerily so. Locals say dolphins still pass through sometimes, leaping where the emperor once stood. The stones remember, even if history mostly doesn't. And somewhere, perhaps, Claudius would smile, believing, for once, he got something right. Because in the end, Rome may have conquered the world, but only one man ever conquered the dolphins.